Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk. Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chrisley Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news and, of course, insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC's senior editor, Mr. John Campea.
Good morning, Chrisley. Greetings and salutations, everybody. It's a good day for me. Last night, I went to go see the new Seth Rogen film, James Franco, Michael Cera, Jay Baruchel. This is the End? Yes, This is the End is the name of the film. And I'm not allowed to review it yet. I got a few days, but I will just tell you what I said on my Facebook. It's really funny. That's all I said on my Facebook, but I'll give a full review later. Hey, listen, today's kind of a special day. You know, every once in a while, we get so many mailbag questions from you guys that we can't keep up with even 5% of them. So every once in a while, we like to do an all mailbag edition to get through as many of your mailbag questions that we can. So listen, if you have a topic or a question that you would like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Just send your questions on in. We get through as many as we can. Chrisley's got a few of them pulled out of the mailbag. So Chrisley, what do we got today?
Vanessa Sanchez writes, "Greetings and salutations, AMC crew. Just watched the new Man of Steel trailer and my mind was totally blown. John could be onto something when he said it could end up being the best movie of the year. My question for you, John, is even though the trailer is amazing, is there anything in it that worries you?"
Okay, let's just start with this trailer.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. This trailer is so good. This trailer, like you'd think the first Man of Steel trailer comes out and you're thinking, wow, that's amazing. Can't get any better than this. And then the second Man of Steel trailer comes out and you think, okay, this is amazing. It can't get any better than this. And now the third Man of Steel trailer comes out. It is the best trailer of the year. But I'm going to tell you right now, before I get to what worries me, there are a few things that worry me. Here are three things that worry me. The one thing that worries me is that the other day I mentioned this, and now it's even more so after watching this new trailer. No movie this year is poised to completely crush my soul and break my heart like Man of Steel is. Aww. If this movie sucks, I'm probably going to go sit in a dark room for about 4 or 5 days, have a few cartons of ice cream, maybe a bottle of Jack, and just sit there in my own filth for like weeks at a time, because my expectations now are so dangerously high for this film. I am so excited for this movie. I am going to watch it the first chance I get, and then I'm probably going to watch it about 8 or 9 times after that. I am so completely stoked for the trailer. Now, before I get to the other things that worry me, I got 2 other things that worry me at this point. Dennis, you had a chance to watch this trailer. What do you think of this latest trailer that just dropped on us last night?
Oh, I think it looks great. And it's kind of the opposite of the first one. The first one was all touchy-feely, and then this one's like all-out action.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, high expectations is probably a dangerous thing with this movie because it does look really, really good. I think the other worry I have is, obviously, the action looks really good. And Zack Snyder has always done great action.
True, yeah.
But remember in Sucker Punch, because we didn't really care about the characters,
right.
When the action scenes happened, we weren't emotionally involved. So that's my only concern with this movie. Hopefully they make us care about Clark Kent, Superman, and all the other characters so we care about what's happening.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the other thing, too, about Sucker Punch is that we also didn't care about the action because, as it turns out, it was all in just a dream fantasy world. It wasn't real. So we didn't care. One of the best parts of this new trailer, though, is when the character Feora, who I guess is the new Ursa, replacing Ursa from Superman 2. Now it's a Feora, who I think was a character in Smallville, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, she's got this line in the trailer that just, when she goes, I just assume she's talking to Kal-El, and she says, "You cannot win. For every human you save, we will kill 1 million more." It's like, damn.
So intense.
Like I'm like, oh yeah. I was talking to Dennis when that line came up. Dennis, get ready to beep. But I said, it's like they're totally screwed. They're totally screwed. What's Superman gonna do? Yeah, the action is so intense. But here are my 2 worries. Number 1 is my fear, and I have nothing to base this on, it's just my worry, that this new trailer with all this great action and all this great Zod stuff going on, my fear is that that's all encapsulated in like the last 10 minutes of the movie. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't need this Superman movie to be punching and flying and action from start to finish. I don't need that. I want a good story. That's one of the best things about Superman. That first trailer showed us all the deeper story to Clark Kent. And I want that, and that's great. But I want a good balance. I want like a 50-50 or maybe even a 60-40 split. Just so long as I'm a little bit worried that maybe all that action we see might be happening in just like the last 10 minutes. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. That's just my only fear. The other thing I'm a little worried about is that this week, a Man of Steel prequel comic book came out. And they released it online for free. So it's available. You can just go search for Man of Steel prequel comic. You'll find it all over the place. It's free. And as it turns out, I won't go into the full story of the comic. It's short. But basically what happens is Clark Kent's cousin, Kara, who is his cousin. She's the daughter of Zor-El, brother of Jor-El, who is, of course, Kal-El's. Anyway, so Kara is sent by the Kryptonian government on a space exploration mission, and bad things happen. I won't say what they are, and she ends up crashing on Earth. And a distress signal goes out, and it says, "Who's going to see this signal?" And then all of a sudden, you see Clark Kent on the fishing boat in the beard suddenly look up. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, please tell me we're not going to have Supergirl in this movie. I don't think they will, because I think her ship crashed like thousands of years ago, and I think her ship ends up being the new Fortress of Solitude. I think we see her, when the doors open in the Man of Steel trailer, and we see Kal-El walking through, I think that's Kara's crashed ship. But in the comic, we see, after the ship crashes, you just see a dark figure walking off in the distance. That's it. So hopefully we won't see her in the movie. I don't believe we're going to see her in the movie at all. But I think her crash ship is what ends up being. My fear is that we're going to see Kara, and I don't want to. And my other fear is that all the action just happens in the last 10 minutes. But other than that, I mean, I'm just, like I said, no movie can break my heart more this year. None. So color me stoked.
You got to keep the faith.
Hoping. High hopes.
Charlie writes, "Hey guys, love the show. I'm surprised why no one has brought up this issue. As the old saying goes, if the wheel isn't broken, don't fix it. In the last scene of the film, The Dark Knight Rises, it is revealed that Batman faked his own death. Of course, this was inspired by Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. However, has no one realized that Frank Miller wrote a sequel titled The Dark Knight Strikes Again? In this continued story, Batman resurfaces and takes the mantle once again after a few years and faking his own death. Can't WB just grandfather the Dark Knight trilogy and have Superman find and recruit Bruce Wayne once again to resurface from faking his death and assume the mantle once again for Justice League? Has anyone pitched this to WB? Why reboot Batman again? Thanks, and keep up the incredible work."
Thanks for the question, Charlie. A couple things to keep in mind here. I don't think the ending of while the ending of Dark Knight Rises reminds us of the ending of The Dark Knight Returns, the comic book. It's not based on that. I mean, Clark, keep going back to Superman. Bruce Wayne is 55 years old in The Dark Knight Returns. That's not what Dark Knight Rises is. It's something different. And also, in Dark Knight Returns, Bruce fakes his own death to hide from the government. In The Dark Knight Rises, Bruce fakes his own death because he has to retire because his body is destroyed. He has no body left. He had to retire. I mean, remember that doctor scene in the movie. The doctor basically tells Bruce, look, your knees are completely gone. Your kidneys are about to fail. You have brain damage. Your back gets broken, blah, blah, blah. Basically, he's finished. He's done. He has to retire because physically he can't be Batman anymore. Done, period. He moves on. Christopher Nolan has said over and over again, that's it. Like, Dark Knight Rises ended his story. That Batman is finished. We can't go back to it. It's done. And of course, Christian Bale has said, a lot of people will refer to this one quote once that Christian Bale said in some interview, oh yeah, maybe if Chris wanted to do it again, maybe I'd think about it. And say, see, he'd come back, but don't take that, because he said 1,000 times that he's absolutely 100% finished with Batman. He actually told us in an interview that he'll never even play another superhero again.
Wow.
So for all those reasons, Christopher Nolan's universe is finished. He does not want it brought back. And on top of that, we've said this before in the show, the Dark Knight Batman in Christopher Nolan's universe, I do not believe fits at all into an expanded DC comic universe. The universe in which Christopher Nolan's Batman lives in has nothing to do with superpowers and alien beings and magic and all this kind of stuff. It's completely isolated from all that, and therefore I don't think that Batman fits into this expanded Justice League universe we see coming. So for all of those reasons, it's absolutely imperative they must reboot the character. They have to. There's no other choice. There's no other option. And I'm sure if WB could come up with a realistic way to keep Christopher Nolan doing Batman and keep Christian Bale doing Batman, they'd love to do it, but they just can't. There's no way to do it. So that's not something we're going to see.
Mike C. writes, love the show. Keep up the great and outstanding work.
Ooh.
Sam Neill has said the new Jurassic Park might be a reboot now. Is this a good idea, and will it tarnish the first movie because it is based on a book? Also, would it be a good idea if the park opened fully and then things fell apart? What is your take on this?
Yes. Oh, okay. Look, give you a little bit of background here. Universal has been ready to go forward with Jurassic Park 4. They even went out, they hired themselves a director in Colin Trevorrow. I never know pronouncing his name right. But he directed that great little indie film last year, Safety Not Guaranteed, with Aubrey Plaza. So they got him on to be the director and all this kind of stuff. Okay, great. Then about a week or so ago, they announced production's been halted. Everything's been put on hold because they want to rework. Then they let a lot of the staff go, and they said they want to rework things, but apparently Trevorrow is still on board as director. Okay, so everything's paused. And then the next day they said they've abandoned their 2014 release date. All right, fine. And now Sam Neill comes out and he says he thinks it's going to be a reboot. Now let's make this very clear. Sam Neill is not the president of Universal. Just because he was an actor in one of the films does not mean he's necessarily got the inside scoop. I remember one of the most popular, and by popular I mean most viewed, everybody hated me at the time. One of the most popular YouTube videos I ever made was after Michael Caine. This is after The Dark Knight came out. Michael Caine said in an interview that Johnny Depp is going to be the Riddler and Philip Seymour Hoffman is going to be Penguin in the next Batman film. And every news site everywhere jumped all over it, and I was the only guy who came out and said, wait a minute. Christopher Nolan hasn't even signed on to do the third Batman film yet. He hasn't written a script. There's no way Warner Brothers is going to tell Christopher Nolan at this point which characters to put in. And Michael Caine is just an actor. He doesn't know. This isn't true. This isn't going to happen. Millions of views later and thousands upon thousands of hate mails that I got of people telling me what a moron I am and how stupid and how I know nothing. Well, it turns out I was absolutely right. Michael Caine didn't actually know. He was just speculating or something. We got to keep that in mind when Sam Neill comes out and says, Jurassic Park, the new Jurassic Park movie is going to be a reboot. But what makes this a little bit different is the fact that we're right on the heels of some trouble in the production. Universal has just canceled their release date. They did just put the production on hold. They did just fire a lot of the staff. It's conceivable that Sam Neill here could be right. And if he is, I think it's a tragedy. I've been looking forward to a Jurassic Park 4. I want to see what happens next. Where do they go from here? What happened to the original island where all of a sudden dinosaurs were changing sexes so they could get it on and have offspring? What happens there? They just abandoned that. I don't think it's time to reboot Jurassic Park. Not yet. Not now. So I would be really disappointed if that's the case. I don't think it's the case. I don't think Sam Neill knows. But it is conceivable considering the circumstances that we have right now that he is. And if he's right, I'm disappointed.
It was very disappointing when they let go of their release date.
Yes.
Wanted some dinosaurs. David Barry writes, love your show. Ever since the Avengers, Disney, Marvel, has truly put Warner Brothers and DC properties on notice. I knew after the Avengers that WB would start a Justice League craze. WB executives in their infinite wisdom want to put any chances of a Justice League movie on hold until after the box office returns and success of The Man of Steel. But wait, what if The Man of Steel bombs? Which we all know it won't. I honestly believe that if it does, there will never be another Superman movie made. A Justice League movie will be scrapped and a new Batman film will be made to once again be sent in to do the cleanup. Do you agree?
This is a really great question.
Yeah.
First of all, you're right. This movie isn't going to bomb. But what if we ask the question, what if it does? What happens then? Because first of all, I don't think you're right. I think if this Superman movie bombs, and bomb is a very loose term. I mean, it can make $200 million. That ain't a bomb, but it could still lose Warner Brothers a lot of money. Right. But no $200 million movie by any stretch of the imagination is a bomb. It may lose hundreds of millions of dollars. But let's say it bombs. Obviously, that scraps Justice League right now. But I don't think it means the end to Superman films. Superman is too big of a brand. He's too big of an icon, too big of a character. Look, the first Hulk film didn't work out. They did another one a few years later. It didn't really work out as well as they wanted, but they still put him in Avengers. They'll keep going back to the well of Superman because they know the character can work. But Justice League, absolutely that's in trouble. Because in the film world, right now, DC and Warner Brothers have two names. They've got Superman and they've got Batman. They don't have Flash. They don't have Wonder Woman. They don't have Green Lantern. They don't have Hawkman. None of that moviegoers care about. Moviegoers don't care about any of those characters yet. That's unfortunate, but it's the truth. So they need one of these two guys to be up and running if they're going to do a Justice League movie. Obviously, Batman is not up and running right now. So they need Man of Steel to work. If Man of Steel bombs and they got to go back to the drawing board on that, then I think you're absolutely right. I think what they have to do is accelerate their plans to going back to the drawing board, get another Batman going, hope that's a hit, and then start. Because if you can't have one of the two big gods, Superman or Batman, to carry Justice League, they just won't invest in it. They'll look at it as potential danger. Dennis, how do you see this? Like, if Superman bombs, am I missing something here? Could they move ahead with the Justice League anyway, even if Man of Steel bombs?
I doubt it. I really doubt that they would. I honestly think they should go. They should wait and make sure Superman is doing well and Batman is doing well, then do a Justice League. I don't know if just one of those can carry it. When he's asking about Superman bombing, let's say it does, hypothetically, and he says they never will make a Superman film, that will never happen. They will always make a Superman film. They may wait a long time before the next one, like they did between Returns, but there always will be Superman.
Yeah.
He's just too iconic.
Yep, agreed.
There's so much pressure on poor Justice League.
Poor Justice League.
I just want to see Wonder Woman back. Peter Goodwin writes, "Hi guys, I live in the UK and enjoy the show. My question is about the Wolverine movie. Where in the X-Men timeline is it set? It made us believe that it was a sequel to Origins before meeting the X-Men, and we have Jean Grey in the trailer, which leaves me confused about where we are. Also, how will it blend itself to the new X-Men film Days of Future Past? If it is a sequel to the prequel, then the Silver Samurai armor predates Iron Man technology, which makes a mockery of Iron Man 2 court scene. Why don't studios respect each other when working with Marvel material?"
All right, well, first, to answer the one question, there is still a lot of confusion about this. The new Wolverine movie is not a sequel to the prequel X-Men Origins Wolverine. It is a sequel to X-Men 3. This is the newest in the X-Men films, okay? So nothing in the X-Men series comes after this new Wolverine film. So you've got all the events of X-Men so far, culminating in X-Men 3, and this comes after X-Men 3. Now, how does this movie tie in to X-Men Days of Future Past? I don't know that there is a direct tie-in in this movie, because I believe they were already well into production on this movie before they even greenlit X-Men Days of Future Past. So I don't think we're going to see the tie-in in this movie. We'll probably see how it ties in X-Men Days of Future Past, but not in Wolverine. Now, as far as the problem you're having with, why do they have Silver Samurai? Because that means it predates Iron Man 2 technology, which makes a mockery of that scene, because blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get asked these types of questions a lot, and I don't mind answering them, because this is an important issue in the world of movie fandom, and I'd like to address it. You have to remember that X-Men and Wolverine and all the properties associated with them are owned by Fox. The Avengers, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, all those characters are owned by Marvel Studios and Disney. They live in two completely separate universes. The reason that the Silver Samurai armor doesn't make a mockery of the Iron Man 2 armor and the scene in the Senate there is because in Wolverine's world, there is no such thing as Tony Stark. There is no such thing as Iron Man. Those things don't even exist. This is a completely separate reality, a completely separate universe, and never the twain shall meet. So It doesn't make a mockery of it because it doesn't exist. Tony Stark does not exist. Iron Man doesn't exist in the Wolverine world, and so that Silver Samurai armor is there. And you don't need to respect each other's stuff, because if you start to respect each other, the other studios' timeline things, then all of a sudden you say, okay, well, if some guy named Don Brown is president of the United States in this Paramount movie, then Fox needs to make sure a guy named Don Brown is president, or else they're not respecting each other's timelines. No, they're separate realities, separate universes, and trust me, that is the way it should be.
Angel Garcia writes, "Hey guys, loving your show from Tijuana, Mexico. What's up? John, great show. Love all your staff and guests. They have a good point of view. Anywho, dudes, I don't know if you have talked about this movie, but 47 Ronin, starring Keanu Reeves and a lot of Japanese actors, and while the basic premise of Keanu being a badass samurai of the feudal Japan, I mean, I love the idea, but what do you guys think? Peace out, guys."
This is a really interesting looking film. I've been keeping my eyes on this. I think they did production on this like 2 years ago. They've bumped the release date like 3 different times. It was originally, I think, supposed to come out in early 2012, then got pushed to late 2012, then got pushed to, like, I believe right now the release date is Christmas 2013. So they've pushed this thing a lot. So basically set in the 1800s, and how great is this classic storyline? A bunch of samurai go on a quest to avenge the death of their master.
There you go.
Done. You got me. That's all you needed to tell me. Now, how Keanu Whitebread Reeves is one of the 47 Ronin, I'm not really sure. I don't know the story of it. I haven't read. They actually even made a graphic novel of it that I think was originally supposed to come out with the movie. But since the movie got bumped, they just released the comic book everywhere. And I haven't read that comic book. So how this white dude gets tied in with all these samurai in feudal Japan, I don't really know how they're doing that. I'm curious to see how they do it. That should be interesting. But yeah, samurai on a mission to avenge the death of their master. Done.
I mean, Keanu kind of has that Hawaiian-ish look to him, so maybe that will
If by
help him.
Hawaiian-ish you mean completely clueless and lost, yes, then he's got a Hawaiian-ish look to him, sure.
Mike writes, "I am wondering about the new Star Trek Into Darkness movie. I saw it and loved it. However, I am concerned about Star Trek 3 being made due to a low box office domestic returns. I know that 85 million does not mean Star Trek Into Darkness is a failure. However, it is lower than what the studio was predicting. Also, I wonder if JJ's involvement in Star Wars will hinder this third film getting made. Certainly they can go with another director, but that does not seem to be the interest of the studio since they waited 4 years for JJ's schedule to open so they could make Star Trek Into Darkness. What are your thoughts about future Star Trek movies?"
Well, first of all, JJ is not directing the third Star Trek movie. They've already announced that. Paramount Studios has already put out a press release a long time ago. JJ isn't directing the next Star Trek movie. And they said they'll have him on as a producer, which, I mean, that means nothing. I mean, that could mean that he's just putting his name on it. It could mean that he is actually a little bit involved. I have a feeling his involvement in the next Star Trek will be very, very limited. So, no, JJ is not directing the next Star Trek. It is disappointing. I mean, these numbers aren't bad. These aren't bad numbers for an opening weekend box office, but they are disappointing because they were expecting more. But I've already explained a few things that I believe hindered this. The fact that they very stupidly hid the fact that the villain is Khan. That's not a spoiler anymore. It's listed on the Internet Movie Database, so it's that we're not in spoiler territory anymore. But that Benedict Cumberbatch is playing Khan, that would have been a huge, major marketing draw. And they decided not to do it. They waited too long to make Star Trek Into Darkness. But one of the big things I believe, this may sound silly, but I stand by this. I've been saying this for a long time. Star Wars announcing that JJ Abrams was their new director has stolen all the thunder from Star Trek for months now.
Absolutely.
Because every press event, every interview, every press line that JJ Abrams was involved or even not involved, everybody was asking questions not about Star Trek, they were asking questions about Star Wars. I interviewed the whole cast of Star Trek recently. And, you know, listening to the people beside me also interviewing them, they're asking them questions. What do you think JJ is going to do about Star Wars? What direction do you think JJ is going to take Star Wars in? As if Zoe Saldana cares or knows. That stole so much of Star Trek's thunder. So there will be a Star Trek 3. I have no doubt about it. The films are still profitable. They have momentum. Both movies have been great. This Star Trek movie, Star Trek Into Darkness, is fantastic. I really loved it. They're going to have some momentum. They just need to Make the next one sooner than 4 years. Don't wait so long to do it. Get moving quickly on a new director. Don't sit around and wait for JJ because he may never come back, and we already know he's not coming back for the third one. But I think the future of the franchise is safe. I do. I think they're going to move ahead. They're going to make another one, and it'll do well just like this one. And let's just hope they learn from their mistakes.
It's crazy that 85 million means not good sometimes.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
Some world.
Lowell Reynolds writes, "Hey there. My family and I saw Star Trek Into Darkness last weekend and we all loved it. However, I heard the news that while it's not doing terrible at the box office, it's not exactly reaching the numbers Paramount was hoping for. It's performing about as good or lower than its predecessor, Star Trek in 2009, even though it has the benefit of the 3D ticket prices. This made me wonder what the executives over at Disney and Lucasfilm must be thinking right now. With the disappointing box office opening of Star Trek Into Darkness, will Disney reconsider hiring JJ Abrams to direct Star Wars Episode 7 and hire someone else to be director? Or will Disney stick to their guns and put their faith in JJ Abrams?" That's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question, but I absolutely 100% guarantee you nobody is blaming JJ Abrams for the quote-unquote failure. And it's not a failure. It's making lots of money. But the disappointing results, box office results of Star Trek Into Darkness, it's still making lots of money, though. Let's not lose sight of that fact. It had nothing to do with JJ. JJ is the director. He directed a great movie that people are enjoying and loving. That is all the responsibility of the director. He gave us a great film that people are enjoying and going back to watch multiple times. All the mistakes that I've mentioned, not advertising that it was Khan, waiting 4 years, not promoting the other stars in the film in films leading up to it. And the fact that Star Wars went ahead and hired JJ and that stole all the thunder. Yeah. None of that is JJ's fault. So I absolutely guarantee you right now, after watching Star Trek Into Darkness, but Disney and Lucasfilm are more ecstatic than ever that they hired JJ Abrams because they gave a great movie. They stole Star Trek's thunder. They're thrilled that they did this. Dennis, what do you think? Do you think there's at this point, there's any apprehension from Disney or Lucasfilm and the fact that they've hired JJ Abrams to direct the next Star Wars?
Absolutely none. I mean, if you watch Star Trek, one of the biggest complaints about it from like the diehard Star Trek fans is that it is very Star Wars like, the whole adventure aspect and stuff like that. So I think if I was a Disney executive and I saw the latest Star Trek, I'd be so happy. I'd be like, yes, this is what we want for our Star Wars franchise. So no, I don't think they have any apprehension at all.
Totally agree. Well, listen, folks, that'll do it for us. We've run out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, while I've got you, before you do anything else, take a second, just a second, and click that subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It'll keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news, our editorials, and of course, our daily AMC Movie Talk show. If you really want to support the show too, head on down to the bottom there and click that thumbs up button. Give us a thumbs up. That helps really support the show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AMC Theaters. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/AMC Theaters. If you'd like an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find links to our iTunes and Stitcher Radio so you can listen to the audio-only version on your commute to work or on the treadmill or doing whatever else you like to do. And listen, head on out and see a movie tonight. Go on over to www.amctheaters.com to get all your theater, showtime, and movie ticket information. And once again, click that subscribe button. I want to thank, as always, our very lovely host, Miss Crystal Kennedy.
Thank you. Love Mailbag Day.
I want to thank the production manager around here, the guy who makes everything happen, Mr. Dennis Zen.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you most of all to you guys. Listen, the most important part of this show is absolutely not what we have to say. It's what you have to say. Make sure you jump on down to the comment section of this video and leave your thoughts on any or all of the topics that we discussed here today. So until next time, my name is John Campia for AMC Movie News. And until then, bye-bye.